time to fuel your business success. Welcome to Harmonious at Lunch. We're bringing you bite-sized advice and expert conversations to drive clarity and growth 5 days a week. Make sure you join our Facebook group at humanopt.com/lunch, where listeners like you and our guests hang out so we can find harmony in business together. If you're building a business, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Yo, welcome back to another Wupdate, the weekly update on Harmonious at Lunch. Did you love the 4 episodes that we put out this week? I did. Amazing guests, great conversations. We had a repeat guest starting off the week with Cheryl. Russell blew my mind, honestly. I didn't know what he was going to talk about. There was some confusion before we started recording. Then he told me we were going to dive deep on AI, and I was like, whoa, this is a cool episode that everyone's got to hear. So if you haven't listened to the episodes from this week, definitely go back and check them out after this one. But I stumbled upon something this week that I just want to share with you. I think this is I love sharing some tips that will help you grow your business or help you understand yourself from a different lens, a new level. And this week I found a little hack that I want to share with you. I am going to share my screen. So full disclosure, if you are listening, not watching, you will probably be able to follow along. But I definitely do want to show you more than tell you on this one. So let's get this adjusted here. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. So if you're watching the screen, you will realize that I have Claude pulled up. I don't know if this is going to work for other AI systems. It might work in Gemini, might work in ChatGPT. Don't know. I discovered this in Claude. I use all 3 of them, full disclosure, and I like to experiment with them for different purposes. But I got a little pop-up on my Claude this week, and it said, help Claude identify where you're spending your time. Now, if you are a listener of the podcast, you would have heard me talk a couple of weeks ago about, actually in a few different episodes at this point, about this idea of signal versus noise, right? I don't want to go into that here, but what I do want to express is this was the tool that helped me analyze from with more precision where I'm spending my time and reveal how little of my time I'm spending on the signal versus the noise. Now, this is sort of my baseline analysis, and I can use this going forward and structure the way that I'm working on my calendar, or I'm using my calendar a little bit differently. But this was my baseline assessment of, okay, where am I actually spending my time? So in Claude, the first prerequisite here is, I'll show you real quick. If you click on this, it looks like these 2 slider bars on the chat window at the bottom left of the chat window, search and tools. If you click on that, you want to make sure that you have Drive, Gmail, and Calendar search turned on. Now, I have a couple of other integrations already. I have Notion in there. I have I know my N8N instance is connected to Claude as well. This goes into MCP connections, and that's a whole rabbit hole I don't want to really go down right now. But if you don't understand what that means, that's fine. These are pre-built integrations. I will say this, though. I don't know if you're not using Google Workspace, so Google Calendar, Gmail, and Drive, I don't know if this is going to work as well for you. You may have to use another AI platform, or you may have to just upload your information a little bit differently. But I'm sure you could probably connect Outlook or Teams, or I don't know what other people use. For me, it's Google. I'm all Google all the time. I love it. It makes my life so much easier. This episode is not sponsored by Google, but hey, Google, if you do want to sponsor me, I love your products. Anyway, so you want to make sure those are turned on. Now, you're going to want to put in this prompt. So I will read it here, and then we'll dive in and I'll let it work. Actually, let me hit send, because this does take a couple of minutes, and then I'll go back and read the prompt. So I hit send. The prompt is simple. Hey, Claude, could you visualize where my time truly goes each week? Use whichever of my integrations that makes sense. When you think you've gathered sufficient information, please do the task. Use an artifact if you think that's helpful. If using an artifact, consider what kind of artifact, in parentheses, interactive, visual, checklist, etc., might be most helpful to this specific task. Do not use analysis tool. please do it right away. So while I was reading that, if you're watching, you saw this pop-up came up on the screen. Claude would like to use this tool, which is Notion. So I'm going to hit allow once. I'm not exactly sure why it wants to use Notion, but that's fine. The other thing about this prompt while it's working here is this was a template from Claude. This was a one-click thing. It popped up for me, and another Notion pop-up. There we go. But it popped up for me. I tried it, and it had really cool results. So Notion keeps popping up. I'm going to allow always at this point. But anyway, so what it's looking for in Notion is any of my current projects that I'm tagged on, my current tasks. It's analyzing my workload. You can see here too, it searched my calendar events. It searched more calendar events. So between 30 and 50 results, it's probably analyzing a couple weeks at this point. And now it's writing some sort of a code over here. I believe if I look at this, so it's writing the code to create a graph or a chart of some sort. And it's analyzing all the things it pulled in, and it's going to sort through that stuff. I know that when I ran this the first time, it also looked through my email to figure out how much time I was spending responding to emails, sending emails, all that fun stuff. And a pro tip here is that I actually have my calendar color coded and categorized already. So I'm not making Claude overthink here what I'm spending my time on. It should be able to go in there and see, okay, this percentage of my time is spent on team calls, on sales calls, on networking calls, whatever it is. And it shouldn't really be all that hard. So let's check this out. Again, if you're watching here, the code was already running, and it created a visual chart for me. So let's see. It gives me a summary over here between major time categories of personal and family time, podcast production, team meetings, networking, focus time, and deep work. And then it gives me some key insights. So I'm just going full open kimono here. We're gonna pull back the curtain, and this is, like I said, this is my baseline. But I wanted to share this with you because it was a little bit eye-opening to me. Even though I can visually look at my calendar, when you boil it down into this level of detail, it's super helpful for me to understand exactly what's going on, and I can make accurate changes. So if I look down here at my key insights, it says you're a content creation machine. Awesome. I love that. 20 hours on podcast shows incredible output. Fun fact here, that's the recording time for a podcast. I don't know what the window here. I could prompt Claude and say, in what window did you measure 20 hours? Because typically I record 7 or 8 episodes for this podcast on Mondays. They're a half-hour slot each, so that would be about 4 hours. I do guest on podcasts, which are also under the same label. That might be another hour or 2 per week. So it's about 6 hours per week I'm spending on podcasts and content creation overall. So that's probably a couple weeks of data it's pulling. The strong family priorities. Now, I personally have my personal family time blocked off. And if I were to show you my calendar, it's the beginning of the day and the end of the day. And the reason I do that is because visually, when I look at it, it gives me this reminder and this anchor of, okay, that's where I start and that's where I finish. Anything that happens in between is work time, it's productivity time, but it allows my brain to mentally start and stop the day effectively. I'm not prescribing that for you. I'm not saying that's going to work for everybody, but for me, that's just what I've found works best, is that if I can see the turn on and turn off time, so to speak, I just am more productive in the middle because I know there's an end, so to speak. Let's see what else we got here. Heavy networking investment. So 15 hours across multiple chapters and professional activities. What I would love to do here is ask it a follow-up question of how many did I actually attend? Because if I don't attend a networking meeting, I usually cross it off on the calendar and I mark it as no, that I'm not attending. And I probably go to anywhere from 2 to 4 hours a week. And then I have some one-on-one calls after that are another hour to 2. But that would be, like I said, it would be just an interesting follow-up time. But 15 hours is sort of the max that I would ever do, that I would even have the ability to do. That's how many are on the calendar. I would say probably I spend about a quarter of that time networking, which is still good. It's within my targets. Limited deep work time. So only 8 hours of focused work. That time needs attention. I agree, honestly. And I think, these are crossed off as focus time. Google Calendar has a predefined template, if you will, where you can just click on a time and click focus time. I have to be more intentional about using that. I've just usually been taking blank space on my calendar and making that my working time, if you will. So again, good baseline for me to say, okay, Claude misunderstood that, not because of its fault, but because of my lack of attention to detail to actually put that on the calendar. That focus time on the calendar. So I will start doing that. And I like to record things in the past. When I'm doing a calendar audit, I will do that. I'll go through and say, okay, I did this work for the last 2 hours. Let's put it on the calendar to make sure that it's recorded and I have a true analysis of where my time is going. So I'll start doing that effective immediately, essentially. Let's see what else we got. Well-structured days. Monday and Thursday are your heaviest. Weekends are protected for family. Yes, that is absolutely true. And that's good to know that, okay, well, Mondays and Thursdays, maybe I should do a little bit more to space those days out, space that workout or those meetings out across other days. But I think just being more on top of recording what happens will help show a little bit more of that balance and where my heavy work is actually concentrated. So optimization opportunities, batch podcast recordings to create more focused content blocks. The only reason it's saying this is because this is mostly a guest show, right? So I have individual blocks of time, and it's recommending that I combine all of those. Well, that would be impossible. And technically it is combined because I take most of Mondays to record the podcast. So I'm not worried about that one initially. Increase deep work time. You currently have 13% of work time for focus. Yeah, this is going to go back to what I said before. I want to make sure that I'm recording actual focus time, and then I'll do another one of these Claude analyses. What's the plural of that? Where I'll ask it again. Okay, now how much of my time am I spending in deep work? And ideally, I want to get my productivity and again my signal work, my focus work. It could be podcasts. It could be networking. Those are part of my focus activities. Those are things I need to do to drive the business forward. But I want to get that time up to about 80 to 90% of the time of what I'm doing should be moving myself and my goals forward. Use Tuesday and Friday flexibility for strategic projects. Yeah, I like that. That's a good tip. Typically Tuesdays and Fridays are my least scheduled day. Monday, Thursday, and typically Wednesday too are heavier scheduled days. So if I could block those off and be a little bit more protective of them, I could probably be a whole lot more productive. So let's go over here to the chart. It breaks everything down. Again, this is if you're watching the episode. It breaks all this down into hours. That's awesome. Unscheduled hours. Yeah, this is crazy. 43% of my total week is unscheduled, which means I didn't record what I was doing in those times. I would probably want to refine this too, give it a little bit more parameters to say only analyze Monday through Friday during the times I have available for work. So that would probably be a lower percentage. But even then, I mean, I should be keeping a better record or have more time protected on my calendar in advance. So that's kind of cool. It gives you this little pie chart here. You can hover over this and it tells you exactly where that time is going. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. Work focus. This is another tab. Work related time, 60 hours. I don't know, again, over what time period this is. I would have to ask. Key insights. Networking activities take up 25% of work hours. Deep focus is 13%. Team meetings consume 20%. Podcast is my largest investment at 33%. Optimization. Yeah. Consider batching, increase focus time, evaluate meeting efficiency. Amen, Claude. Evaluate meeting efficiency. I'm on board with that one. Automate administrative tasks. Yeah. I'm a automation junkie. If I can get things off my plate, I absolutely do. Fun fact, this podcast is mostly automated. Besides the fact of me showing up, I've automated almost everything about the intake process, the production and output and posting process. I'd say I spend anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes per episode total outside of recording times to get it posted. So pretty proud of that fact after so many episodes produced. Let's see, daily schedule intensity, schedule time versus flexible time. Yeah, it's analyzing the weekends, which I don't love because I don't have them dedicated for work anyway. So I'm not really, they may be skewing the numbers, but Monday and Thursday are the heaviest days. Weekdays, minimal scheduled commitment, or weekend, so that doesn't matter. Tuesday and Friday are more flexible, and Wednesday is a balanced schedule. Recommendation: use Tuesday, Friday. Yeah, we read that before. Protect weekend time. Consider moving some Monday items to lighter days. Yeah, it's a good tip. Schedule creative work time during low meeting days. Yeah, I like that too. So it's a really cool way to just analyze your time. So for me, I'll tell you what I'm going to do moving forward, and maybe I'll shoot a follow-up episode about this. But my first sort of task here would be to because I love the way my calendar is labeled. So that's super helpful. What I'm going to do now is make sure I record everything. So I'll spend the next week to do sort of a time study where I'm just putting on the calendar after I do things, what exactly did I do? And I'll classify them in the right way. Then I can come back to Claude next week and say, hey, I did a time study over the past week. I'll give it the dates. And I'll say, and I'll give it that same prompt with a little bit of nuances to say, analyze between these dates and these hours, exclude weekends, and tell me where I'm spending my time and where you see holes and gaps and opportunities. Then I would be curious to see, okay, now how productive am I? Now am I spending 80 to 90% of my time on those productive tasks, or do I still have some work to do? Do I need to rearrange some things? So that's my focus here for the next week. But I wanted to shoot this episode and share it with you because I really want to get away from theory. Like the stuff that I share on this podcast is really not just theory. I want you to put it into action where applicable. This one in particular is something you can do right now. Even if you were to, okay, let's say you don't use Google Calendar, Google Workspace, and you don't have this integration. I want this to be effective for you. Whatever AI you have access to, ChatGPT, which I call Chad, Claude, or Gemini, which I call Gemini. So those are the big three, right? Gemini, Chad, and Claude. They're my best friends. In all seriousness. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe they are. But anyway, take a screenshot of your calendar, upload it to Chad, Claude, Gemini, and give it this prompt and say, analyze my calendar. I usually in that context like to say, ask me any questions you may have before you go into an analysis, just to clarify some things. It may not understand the picture. It may not understand if you have yours color coded or not. It may not understand what different events are. But this will sort of give you that baseline of understanding, okay, this is where I'm spending my time. This is how it's broken down. This is what the AI is seeing. And these are my optimization points and my shortfalls if you have any. So that's my recommendation is go through, do at least that. If you have the integration option on whatever platform you're on, definitely use it. And then take the next week to do a little bit of a time study and see where you're spending that time, because it's one of the most valuable resources that you have. I'm not going to go so far as to say time is the most valuable resource because I think if I were to think about this real quick, I think leverage would be the most valuable resource. If you could do more in less time, it's not the time that's important. It's the amount of leverage you have to utilize that time. So it's very important. Your time is very important, but the leverage you have available to you is probably more important. Anyway, figure out where you're spending your time, because then you can figure out how to leverage other things to fill that time and be more productive in it without needing you to spend your time to be productive. I hope that makes sense. But the whole point is figure out where you're spending your time, figure out what's important to get done, and then figure out how you can either have other people, other things like robots or other resources get that stuff done. It all starts first with the calendar analysis. So check that out. I hope this helps. I hope you do it. If you do, shoot a message to me. It doesn't have to be in the comments. I would love for you to comment, but shoot a message to me. Let me know what you found, what was helpful or not. Are you on the right track? Do you have to make a major pivot? I'm curious what comes out of this exercise. The first time I did it, I was blown away how just ineffective I was. Not this is years ago, but I'm sure a lot of insight will come from this, and it's always valuable to see what's going on because we slip into bad habits sometimes and we don't know. We don't catch it. You have to actually look at what's going on. So that's my encouragement for you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you actually go do it. And if you were listening and you want to go back, of course, to the video of it to watch what I did on screen, I would encourage you to do that too. But we'll see you next week with some more Harmonious at Lunch. And who knows, if you like this kind of episode, let me know. I'll do another screen share next Friday for the weekly update. Give you some more tips and tricks behind the scenes on how to optimize yourself, your workload, and just how to make your life and your business run more harmoniously. We'll see you next week.
Another episode of Harmonious at Lunch in the books. I hope this episode made you think and you grabbed some actionable ideas to propel your business. Don't forget to like, comment your takeaways, and subscribe wherever you're listening so we can help more entrepreneurs just like you achieve harmony in their life and business. For cutting-edge tools